We started a new sermon series last week we're calling I Am Hope, and I love that series name because you don't really have to remember anything today except those three words. Now, if you can put them in context and know what they mean, then you got the message in three words, I am hope, and you can just relax and drink coffee the rest of the service. But I love that series name because it's what we really are. I am hope. You are hope. Some folks mistakenly think that being filled with hope means you don't have problems. You have an easy life, but that isn't true. We all struggle, but when we have hope, we have spiritual tools to help us with those daily struggles. You don't have to go it alone. And for some of you, this message is going to hit you right between the eyes because we all try to clean up and look good when we come to church. But inside, it's another story. And it happens in all churches all across America. You get up, clean up, come to church, and walk in the door, and somebody says, how are you? And you say, I am. You never hear anybody say, I'm sick in bed, how are you? Or, my husband just left me, how are you? You know, it would be so refreshing if we greeted each other in church like they do in AA meetings. You know, if I stand up in an AA meeting, I say, hey, I'm Craig, I'm an alcoholic, and everybody says, hi, Craig. Wouldn't it be refreshing if you came in church and said, hi, I'm John, I'm broke, and somebody said, hi, John, how are you? And you felt accepted by that person. Well, you know, I want to spend a little minute talking about that now because we need other people in our lives that know who we really are. Because when nobody knows who we really are, what we're struggling with on the inside, there's a loneliness and a feeling of isolation that's incredibly debilitating. As Americans, we love our independence. In fact, we celebrate our independence. Many people think that the key to happiness is independence. If I'm financially independent, then I'm going to be happy. If I'm independent of my parents, I'll be happy. If I'm independent of this marriage I'm in, I'll be happy. If I'm independent of all these responsibilities I have or this family or whatever, then I'll be happy. And happiness does not come from being independent. Psychologists tell us that the healthiest people are not independent people. They're not dependent people. The healthiest people are interdependent. They're dependent on others. They have healthy involvement with other people in their lives. They're part of a community. Now, I want us to look at a great passage today from the book of Ecclesiastes. You may have heard parts of this in the past, but it's well worth our time today. Two people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. One person falls, the other can reach out and help. But someone who falls alone is in real trouble. Likewise, two people lying close together can keep each other warm, but how can one be warm alone? A person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but two can stand back to back and conquer. Three are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. It's pretty obvious that we need other people in our lives. And so let's look at a few reasons why. Number one, I need others in my life to help me grow spiritually. The Bible often calls the spiritual life a journey. Being a Christian is not just a one-time decision. I became a Christian in 1978. It's not just a decision, it's a journey. It's the beginning of a journey. It's a decision to begin to live life differently. A decision to follow Christ, and the rest of the journey begins. And we take much of this journey with other people who are like-minded. Ephesians 4:16 says, we are made to help each other and to complement each other. As each part does its work, it helps the other parts grow. So Christ's whole body is healthy and growing and full of love. You'll learn a lot from other people. Perhaps they've been on the faith journey longer than you have, or their life experiences are different from yours, and you learn from those people. That's one way that we grow in wisdom. God meant for us to be in relationship with others, and not just in marital relationships. I'm talking about relationships with those in church, coming to church. That's important, and it's a great way to grow spiritually, but it's not by any means the only way. Because, folks, this is not a community. This is a crowd, a very large crowd. You don't have community in this room. The gentleman that's sitting on the top row up here cannot even see the lady that's sitting on the top row over here. If they walked out the door, they wouldn't even recognize each other. Because this is a crowd, it's not a community. And so you don't have community by coming here to worship. Worship's very important. It's our opportunity to speak with God as a faith group, but not as a small community. Community is what happens when you're with just a few people where you can know and be known. And we all need a few people in our lives that we know really well, and they know us really well. Hope is a big place, and you can't know everybody, but you can know somebody. And that's what needs to happen. You need to know somebody. You need to get in a group where you can know somebody and where they can know you. Now, that may be a group that studies together, or that may be a group that does ministry together, or a group that works on their recovery issues together. Somewhere you can get some support when you're feeling low and give some support when others are feeling low. And then secondly, I also need others because I can't do it alone. I can't change the world by myself, and you can't either. And if I'd started Hope Church 28 years ago and said, hey, I'm going to do this. This is going to be all on me. We wouldn't be anywhere close to where we are today. We not even in the same world. But I've got this gift of delegation. And I love giving stuff away. And apparently you love taking the stuff that I delegate because that's what you've done, and look what happened. Now, we can change the world, but I couldn't with that little group of 15 people. But 15 became 30, became 100, became 200, became 1,000, and on, because we need each other. And together we can change the world. Each of us can make a difference if we just do our little part. Now, there are so many times, whether you're moving a couch to the other side of the room or you're engaged in a ministry with other people, that you see just how much you can't do it alone. One of the things I love about Hope is how willing you are to pitch in. Wednesday nights at Hope is a great example. When dinner is over and classes are over, there is this small army that returns to the gym and puts all the tables and chairs up. Now, I've been in that gym when it's just me and Mac and a couple of other folks. And it takes us an hour and a half, 2 hours to put all those tables and chairs away and clean the floor. And I've been in there when an entire army of Hope folks come back from their classes and help us, and it takes 10 minutes. I like the army way better. And I promise you, Mac does. I wish I had one of those time delay cameras that we've all seen where they record time, incrementally. And we could watch the work done in our Oasis of Hope community by many of you working with Habitat for Humanity these last weeks. You see that whole neighborhood starts with nothing but a field, and in just a few short weeks' time, you see 16 houses completed. You see the outcome of your work together. Galatians 6:2 says, help carry each other's burdens. In this way, you'll follow Christ's teachings. And then third, I'm not alone when I have other people who watch my back. I need people who watch my back. I need people who will defend me, protect me, stand up for me when I need help. Your mother ever used this phrase? If you want to have a friend, you have to be a friend. It was never a very satisfying response to whatever argument we were in the middle of, but it was true. We need others who are watching out for us, and we need to be watching out for others. Philippians 2 says, don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourselves. Don't look out only for your own interests, but also look out for the interests of others. When we have other like-minded people in our lives, it really is like the cord or the rope that Ecclesiastes was talking about in the beginning of that passage. Think about a piece of rope. The strands of that rope are all woven together, and you can unravel them, not very easily, but you can do it. And once you do it, then you can break a strand of that rope. But otherwise, if they're all wound together, you see the strength of that support. It's what we need for a couple of reasons. Verse 10 of Ecclesiastes says, if one person falls, another can reach out and help. But people who are alone when they fall are in real trouble. Years ago, there was a lady that called me to tell me she was leaving the church. And I said, why? And she said, because I was in the hospital and you didn't come visit me. I mean, look at how many people are here. Really. And I said, because I didn't come visit you. And she said, yes. And I said, I didn't know you were in the hospital. And I said, did you let anyone in the church know? She said, no. I said, are you in a small group of people who support you? She said, no. I said, do you have any life-on-life experience with anybody at Hope? She said, no. I said, how was I supposed to know that you're in the hospital? That apparently didn't satisfy her because she left anyway. But the point is, we need other people in our lives. When you think about your faith, is there anybody who's helping you in your spiritual journey to make sure that you're still growing, to make sure that you're not getting discouraged and depressed and feeling like giving up? Anybody watching your back, deflecting the arrows, not adding to the attack? It's so easy, folks, in our culture to get caught up in the negativity of the world. Sometimes, often, we would be such better friends if we just kept our mouths shut and stopped texting. What would you say if there was a video of everything that you said, every action that you took, everything you did in a day, and I said to our video guy, Clay, who sits up there in a small room producing video for us, I said, Clay, start the video in the service now, and we're gonna play all of that for you right here for this one person. And you were reminded of every single thing you did and said in the last 24 hours. But there is a video just like that. And it is playing in the memory of the one who feels attacked or gossiped about by you. And we can change that. We can make a difference in others' lives. Ecclesiastes says, a person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but two can stand back to back and conquer. Three are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. Here's a question for you. Who's watching your back? And whose back are you watching? You can't expect anybody to watch out for you if you're not watching out for anybody else. You care about others, you'll say, you know what? I'm going to be there with you through thick and thin. You don't ever have to worry. There are a handful of people in my life that I have that kind of relationship with. Many years ago now, Lee was diagnosed with cancer. It's a story I've told many times. And when we received the shocking news that day, it was also at a time when she was in the hospital and they wanted to take her immediately to surgery. And she and I were both scared to death of the future and what it might hold. And so I leaned over the gurney before they took her into surgery and I said, Lee, I can't have the cancer for you, but I'll be here. I don't remember saying that, but a year later, a full year later, when she was through the worst of the cancer, she wrote me a sweet note and she reminded me of what I said. She said, "Now I know what you meant when you said I'll be there. You never missed driving me to a doctor's appointment and staying there with me. You were always there when I needed you." And I can tell you, the friends who were also there for her and for me and for our kids was overwhelming. 3 days a week at least, I would go out to get the newspaper in the morning and someone had delivered fresh baked bakery products for our kids' breakfast, freshly baked, right on the doorstep, at least 3 days a week. And for months, we didn't know who it was. We later found that it was a woman who has now become a very dear friend of Lee's, just lifting us up. She didn't want credit for it. She just wanted to be there to help. Out in the foyer, we have ministries of hope represented that are offering to help you find some place to fit in. The deacons that care over your neighborhood are out there. There are tables for men's ministry and singles ministry and marriage ministry and women's ministry. You can meet someone who can help you find a group of people to do life with. Teenagers, there's a table for you. If you aren't finding people at Hope who are part of your weekly walk, you need to stop by. You need what I called like-minded people, people who are faith-minded people like you. There are ministries like Scrubs where you can find a group who do work together. What they do is clean the church. We save tens of thousands of dollars a year, which we give to missions because we clean up after ourselves. It's a ministry that I was a part of for the first 2 years. I was a part of the toilet team. And I'd give an hour a week and we'd get together and clean toilets and then, somebody bring donuts and we'd sit and share together for a few minutes. Working for the good of the church, but community develops through that work. Lots of tables like that in the foyer. Hope for Kids or Mackie and Friends. I love the years that I spent on the Scrubs team. And Lee stayed 3 years longer than I did. I think she was on the Scrubs team for 5 years. Folks, you don't have to be alone, and you don't have to have any incredible talent to be involved in something that can make a real difference in people's lives. And then next, I need friends to share the load with me. I need people who are going to be there in the inevitable crises of life. Many situations in life that nobody should have to go through alone. Nobody should ever have to sit alone in a hospital. No woman should ever have to wait alone for test results. No one should ever have to wait alone for news about a loved one's safety in times of military unrest or national crisis or tragedy. No one should ever have to stand at an open grave alone. And no man or woman should ever have to spend the night alone when the wife walks out or the husband has walked out. You think of the crisis. You shouldn't have to face that crisis alone. Romans 12:15 says, "Rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn." And later Paul says, "Therefore encourage each other and strengthen one another as you're doing." You need a support network in your life now because you don't know when the crisis is going to come. Now, you don't need 100 people, but you do need a handful of people who are going to be there when you need them. 1 Corinthians 12 says, if one part suffers, all the parts suffer with it. And if one part is honored, all the parts are glad. Now, when you're in the hospital, you don't want the whole church to visit you. But who would be mad if you didn't call them and let them know you were in the hospital? Because we all need a handful of people who say, we're praying for you. We're here for you. We will be there when you go home, and it's tough. And listen, let me lighten the load for you here. You don't have to fix people's problems. Being in community with others doesn't mean that you have to have the answers. When you're going through a crisis, people don't want advice anyway. They just want somebody to be there. You don't have to say anything profound. Usually that's when we get in trouble, when we try to be profound. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to over the years who were deeply offended when they had lost a loved one and they're filled with grief. It's raw and fresh and incredibly emotional. And somebody walks up to them and says, remember, Romans 8:28, which I can't remember off the top of my head. But the reality is we say something stupid. All things work together for good to those who love God and are called according to his purpose. Don't forget that. And you want to slap them right in the face. It's the last thing you want to hear. Is it true? Yeah, it's true. That's not what they need. You know what they need? You. I am hope. They need you. You are hope. I'm with people in crisis all the time that say, why, Craig? I don't get it. You're supposed to be the professional here. I don't get it. Why in the world would God let this happen to me? And my answer to that most of the time is, I don't know. I can't answer that. I'm so very, very sorry. I do not know. Maybe one day when I get to heaven, I will know. It's one of those questions that plagues me, but I don't know. People just need a friend. Just be there with them. They don't need a lot of advice. Just be there. Now I want you to meet Carolyn and listen to her powerful story of hope with her son Parker. Watch this.
We were living in New Jersey at the time. We had a 3-year-old daughter. Then Parker came along. Parker was a very busy child, and I had taught school, so I'd been familiar with busy kids, active kids. But Parker was over the top busy. We had to board up the fireplace because he would climb up in there. There's a possibility of him getting his head in the damper. He would see balloons in the neighborhood, and he would follow the balloons, leave the house, follow balloons. He would escape out of the house. Now, he's not even 2 yet. And go to the neighbor's house and work his way up to the bathroom and play with the toothbrushes. He was just all over the place. When he was almost 2, he had a seizure in his high chair. And that kind of started that whole, series of things we needed to tend to. So we went from one hospital to another. We ended up at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. We sat in this doctor's office, and he said, let me tell you something. When he goes through puberty, all hell's gonna break loose. And so I am writing you, a prescription for Depakote to tend to the behavior and Jim Beam for the parents. And, we didn't take that literally, but we left there knowing that this was gonna be a doozy of a journey. He has PDD, NOS, which it's on the autism spectrum. And so he is verbal. He does have self-care skills. He perseverates on a lot of different things right now. I mean, in fact, for his whole life, it's been purple. He has purple underwear. He wears purple socks. He has purple sheets. His bike is purple. And that's just one of the characteristics of, PDDs. Our other 2 have met developmental milestones, and we have watched them, grow from babies to toddlers to teens. We sent one off to college. But with Parker, he is developmentally 5. So his life is not about milestones. It's about a series of stories. And with him, we've had the most glimpses of heaven, and we have had the most glimpses of hell. There was one time he had earned a cape at school because he's all into superheroes. He told me on the way home that he was gonna try it out and see if it worked. I pretty much just blew him off, and I said, yeah, that's a great idea. So he went and got some scissors and cut the screen and jumped out of the 2nd story of our house. And thankfully he landed on some, bushes. He was ticked that the cape didn't work. We avoid Costco from August to the end of October because he is so infatuated with costumes. Well, if you go to Costco, it's mostly little 2T princess costumes, but he does not realize, even though he's 15, that these don't fit him. And so he will strip down right there in Costco and try to squeeze into these little, fairy costumes or whatever, and he does not realize it's a problem. So we just don't even go there. About 9 years ago, my husband Kent was laid off. He was considering a position in Memphis. We were very concerned because we had a fantastic network and support group up there. We had awesome teachers. I had a wonderful small group. We had a phenomenal doctor. We had terrific neighbors that, watched out for him. We found a doctor in Memphis that was teaching partners with our doctor in Philadelphia. So we decided, you know what, we can do this. God will put other people in our path. We were alone. We didn't know anybody. But I had heard about, at a conference, somebody had said, if you ever get to Memphis, check out Hope Church. All of our kids love coming to Hope. It's Parker that if we miss on a Saturday or a Sunday, he gets all torqued and bent out of shape. This is his family here. He has friends here, adults and kids. He can wear whatever he wants. There is no judgment. Mackie and Friends, the special needs ministry here, is the heartbeat of what we do. But the body is more than just a heart. So we have, not only his awesome caregivers, Miss Kim and Miss Katrina, and his teachers, but, there's Miss Lawana in the Hope Kitchen who, slips him some pickled okra on the side. We have Miss Myra at the cleaners. We have Miss Sandra at the bus. God did not equip us with all of the tools that we needed to do this ourselves, but he did put people in place that would come alongside us and help us where we were lacking patience, or we were lacking energy, or we were lacking skills. So it has been all of these people around us that have really made us be able to continue. If life were like Mr. Potato Head and you got to pick all your pieces, I would take that autism piece and I would throw it as far as I could across the room. But that's not what we have. And you know what? I don't feel like I was gypped. Early on, I was like, man, how come blah, blah, blah. But I don't view it like that now, because our lives have been enriched by all of these people who God has placed into our life. And it wasn't just to get the job done, but it was through each one of those people that God revealed himself. We see Jesus in every one of those people. And so we know for sure, without a doubt, that Parker's not a mistake. He is perfect in his eyes. And had it not been for him, we would not maybe have been able to see Jesus face to face as clearly as we do.
Quite a story, isn't it? When Carolyn shared her story, we simply didn't have the time to include all of it today, but it is so powerful, so profound, that we decided to add the next section to our website, because she tells a story about trying to get Parker through O'Hare Airport in Chicago and the random people that God brought along to help her get through that experience. It's very touching. Did you see how Carolyn saw Jesus clearly through these random people that he put in her life? I am hope. You are hope. You are those random people. If you'll just step outside of your comfort zone and put others first. Before we close, I know there are days and seasons where no matter how many people we have around us, or even when we are in great groups or helping us, that we're still overwhelmed by a sense of loneliness. And if it's ongoing and overwhelming, then let me encourage you to get some professional help. A Christian counselor can do a world of good to help you unpack things that your community that then can support you and love you and help you heal as you get through those deep problems of life. Never settle for less than you deserve. And in the midst of pain, you may not realize how much you matter to the ones around you. You would never think twice, though, about seeing a doctor for a broken foot. So don't think twice about seeing someone for a broken spirit. And then hang on to this final point of hope. Despite life's circumstances, God promises I'm never really alone. And I'm closing with two great passages of Scripture. They're on my top 10 or so list. They may be the ones some of you need today. And you may need to take this bulletin home or write this out in a note for yourself. One's from Isaiah. So do not fear, for I'm with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And from Psalm 121, I look up to the mountains. Does my help come from there? My help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. He will not let you stumble. The one who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, he who watches over Israel never slumbers or sleeps. The Lord himself watches over you. The Lord stands beside you as your protective shade. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon at night. The Lord keeps you from all harm and watches over your life. The Lord keeps watch over you as you come and as you go, both now and forever. Let's pray. Father, Carolyn's story is many of our stories. They're different, but we live with an overwhelming load that's very difficult to shoulder alone. And we need the community of Christ around us. And this is the beauty of it, Father. I am hope. Each person here is hope. And as we seek to reach outside our comfort zone and be a friend to somebody else, we see the majesty and the power of who you are. So today, as we leave this sanctuary, may we take the time to wander through the foyer and look for a place where we can be in life-on-life relationships with one another. It's life-changing. We ask in your name. Amen.